All right. So today we got another fun treat for us today. Another wonderful guest, a great friend of mine that I've known for about a little over 20 years. We
That's
date back
crazy.
to yeah, it's crazy. We date back to the days of Liberty. That's right, another Liberty guy. I don't care if y'all get tired of it. It's my show, but it's all good though. But yeah, what you guys are finding, some of these guys that I'm bringing on the show, Liberty affiliate or not, they're leading some of the best programs out in the country. They're coaching some of the best athletes in the country, and this interview is no different. We met, yeah, like I said, met back in Liberty. I don't know if he knows this, but I've been trying to keep up and track and keep track of this guy moves. Been moving around so much, it's been hard. But for the last couple of years, I've been able to track him down and track his progress. Like I said, great friend of mine, great guy, um, man, master motivator. And if you guys don't know, he's a Netflix star. And we'll go deep into that as the interview goes along. But this is my friend, head football coach at Harrison High School. It's in Kennesaw, right?
Yep, Kennesaw, Georgia.
Kennesaw, Georgia. Mr. Coach Joshua Cassidy, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Thank you for those kind words. I appreciated my time at Liberty with y'all. I've been watching your broadcasts, and
Right,
there's little things, like Kareem, we used to jump
right.
on each other all the time. And your laugh, like that laugh, man, I remember
Uh,
that's what you did all the time. And so it was great to hear you laugh. And although, I hadn't really, been able to spend quality time with you since, 2001,
right.
one of those things when you're teammates with guys that it doesn't matter the time that's passed. So I'm thankful to be here with you, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that you're providing our program to showcase what we do here, and then also, to just sit here and fellowship with you for a little while.
Oh man, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, it helps that you're at one of the power schools in
Yeah,
Georgia, but even if you weren't, now we still be having this conversation because you're my guy, right?
yeah, yes, sir.
Cool, cool. Coach Cassidy. So I know in general about your background. You're from Virginia, correct?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was born and raised in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Right, right.
Yep, I
And
was born and
so
raised.
just talk about your path into football a little bit. Just talk about your path into football. How do you got to Liberty? And then what happened after you graduated. Talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, and I will, and I'm glad you asked. I just had a staff meeting with our guys, and my path is different than most.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, I was a little bit older, but
Mm-hmm.
path to Liberty, like I said, I grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I went to school at EC Glass High School, played football at EC Glass High School, and
Which was a powerhouse back in the day, for all
yeah,
those who don't
yeah,
know.
my sophomore year we went to the state championship and lost. I didn't play in that game, but my junior year we went to the state championship and lost, and that was to Allen Iverson was the quarterback that
Oh
year.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. The Tidewater schools, I mean, you being from that area, like that Virginia Beach area, we would always match up with them. It was Icy Norcom, it was Woodrow Wilson.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was just always, and in Bethel, of course, where
Right.
my senior year, we went to the Final Four. So I, I lived in a group home. I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't know that.
I lived in a group home for almost 4 years because I'm answering the question, my path that took me to
Right.
Liberty, my upbringing was not one that facilitated growth and development.
Right.
There weren't men and women in my life who were trying to pour into me, but I wasn't hearing it. And so I made a lot of bad decisions in high school that kind of limited my opportunities. So I did not go straight to college. I had, coming out of EC Glass, I did have one scholarship offer to a Division II Wingate in
North Carolina.
yeah. And I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. I was making a lot of bad decisions at the time. And so I didn't go straight to college. I had a 4-year window where I made a few more bad decisions. And
Right.
what happened with me was probably 2 years removed from high school, I started having dreams. And these dreams, I'm walking up to a field. It's at night. I can see the lights, and I wake up. And this was over a period of a couple years. And as I go through these dreams, I'm getting closer and closer to the field. And in the most recent dream prior to starting at Liberty, I was on the field. They're out. It's time to play. I wake up. So every time I was getting close to what was, important to me at that period in my life. And so I ended up getting an invite walk on to Liberty, Prop 48, because my grades from EC Glass were bad.
Well, I was a prop. Too.
Yeah. I made a lot of bad decisions. So I ended up getting an invite walk on 4 years removed from high school. So I was a freshman at 22, graduated from Liberty in 25 years old because I hustled. And so when I walked into that thing, it was really what brought me to Liberty. It didn't have anything to do with academics because I didn't enjoy school. It had everything to do with football. It just had been calling me back, right?
Right.
So that's what got me to Liberty, was a yearning to play ball. It wasn't, and I hate to say it now, but and even me being an educator, education was not important to me. It was not a priority. I didn't enjoy it. So I'd like to say that it was about the academics, and I'd even like to say that it was about the spiritual side of things, but that wasn't it. It was football. Just being real.
It was a tool, though. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And
it was a tool.
That's my purpose now. The purpose in high school, we want to utilize football as a distinctive tool to model and explain the purpose of life through whole person development while creating excellence and collaboration within the individual that's a program. There's no doubt about it. That's like, for everybody has, I believe, a purpose or a vision or a mission, whatever you call it. That's my purpose. And that's kind of was my path and what brought me to Liberty. And then, after Liberty, I graduated in 2002. And I wanted to be a college coach, so I saw that you had interviewed Bernard Clark. And so I went 1 year in Virginia at EC Glass High School, was teaching and coaching. And I wanted to get in the college ranks. My family has a pedigree of being pretty good. I was a runt of the group, and my uncle and cousin both played at Virginia Tech. My cousin was an All-American there. So I had an interview with their coaches to be a GA, and I think they were just kind of humoring me. But through that process, I got my master's there at Virginia Tech. And then that's when Bernard had left Liberty, went to FIU. And so when I finished up, I was finishing up at Virginia Tech in the spring of 2004. I got in touch with Bernard, and I was trying to get a GA down there. Well, they didn't have GAs at the time because it was a new program. Going down South Florida, coaching out of school, and he ended up going to USF as the D-line coach, and that's when I got hooked up with Bill Kramer at Naples High School. Coached down there. I was in South Florida, West Florida, Naples for 7 years. A state championship down there as an assistant coach. We went 15-0 in 2007. And then I moved, and I'm not getting into family stuff, just kind of the coaching journey. And then I moved up to Georgia because I'd started dating a girl, and we couldn't live in Southwest Florida, Naples, off of a salary that I had.
Naples.
Yeah. We moved up to Georgia. And so I've been in Cobb County for 10 years. I was the defensive coordinator at Kell for 2 years. And then I've been here at Harrison for 8 years now. And so that's kind of been, what brought me to Liberty. And the funny thing is, and I say this to bring honor to the people that have supported me and to go back to, man, look what God can do. But, I just earned my doctorate degree in 2000.
Get out of here.
Yeah, man.
Congratulations. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's funny because, and I say that you try to stay humble, right?
Right.
But I also want to make sure I shine light, because you talked about my path that took me to Liberty. It's funny how my life, my football and education started at Liberty, and then it came full circle, and I finished back there at Liberty when I earned my doctorate. And the funniest thing, DeBerry, is this: our freshman year, we were required to have study hall. You had to have it up in the press box every night, late at night, right? And I don't know if you remember.
Classic moments.
There was a girl, Bethany Godomsky.
Oh, I remember her.
Well, I was struggling with anatomy and physiology. It was a first class. And remember, I was 4 years removed from high school.
Right.
there's no, I'm not going to make it here. It was, at A&P was tough because I was a PE major. She was my tutor, right?
Right.
When I went to get my doctorate and finished up in 2019, her mom, Marilyn Godomsky, was my chair. She sat on my board. Like,
ooh, get out of here.
yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean, it's like full circle that,
Right.
yeah, because when I was looking for people to be on the chair for my dissertation, I'm like looking at people that are doing, because what I studied, I did a qualitative study, and I'm Marilyn Kodomsky, and I'm like, I remember that name. And I reached out to her, and sure enough, she was Bethany's mom and still at Liberty. So
Wow.
may have been a little bit more than what you asked for, but that's kind of like the journey that brought me to Liberty, that started me in my career, and then brought me right back to Liberty to kind of finish up the education.
All right. So I remember you, remember, I know I don't know if you text me or email me or call me, but I do remember talking with you when you were in Florida, trying to make that transition up to Georgia.
Yeah.
At that time, you was trying to get on with, what's his name? It was a former coach at Osher Smith, um, back in the day. Now he's at Marietta, I do
Yeah, that's
believe.
Richard Morgan.
Yeah, Richard Morgan. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He had just moved to Marietta, and I remember you wanting to get on his staff.
Yeah, that was I was kind of, I want to say that was, he moved here maybe 4 years ago, and I reached out to some guys to see kind of, what he was about. We were having 7-on-7s here at Harrison, reaching out, hey, do y'all know this guy? Because I reached out to Bernard too, and he gave me a sale because we had some 7-on-7, so I had him come over here to compete with us in some 7-on-7s.
Oh, did you?
Our region now, we played them last year.
How are they doing? I know they were.
They're doing okay. They won the state championship in 2019 in Class 7A. We won the championship in 2019 in 6A. And then we played each other in 2020. It was a COVID year, but now we're in 7A. We've moved up. So they're doing okay. They had a rebuilding year, but they've got a lot of kids coming back, especially that quarterback.
Right.
So
how did you get to Harrison?
So for me, like I said, my wife and I met down in Naples, and we got married, and we lived down there for a year. And I was looking for ways, because see, in Florida, when you have a bachelor's, everybody's the same in Florida and Georgia. But when you start getting a master's or a specialist or a doctorate, you can get a lot more money, stipend wise. And so we started looking at how I could maximize, because I don't care if I'm coaching ball and anywhere in the country, kids need love, and I'm going to try to love on them and coach ball. So I was like, well, let me put our family, if we're going to start a family somewhere where I can make the most money.
Right.
While we moved up here, and I first moved to Kell High School, which is in Marietta, Georgia. And I was the DC there for 2 years. And we had 2 great years, went second and third round. I had to defend Deshaun Watson, and a feat in and of itself. And then, but I got to Harrison because, and I know people may watch this, and I'll leave it at this: the former head coach at the previous school, Kell, and I had a difference of philosophy. I believe that life is about your vertical and horizontal relationships and not the scoreboard. And we were winning, and I didn't want to compromise wins for relationships in the way I went about doing what I did, because my purpose is important to me. So, DeBerry, after the Deshaun Watson game, which was after Thanksgiving, I had a discussion with the head coach. I told him my heart about some things that I thought should be done differently. He disagreed. I resigned. I didn't have a teaching job anywhere else, coach. I just felt like I was starting to compromise wins for my purpose. And I don't want to be that guy. So I resigned, and this was right after Thanksgiving. Christmas break, I get a call on the phone from our former head coach, Matt Dickman. He's like, hey, I got the job at Harrison. I'm moving up there. You want to talk? So we talked. I talked to him in December, came and met him on the Christmas break. I was there January 11th of 2013. They were able to move me from Kell High School as a teacher,
right,
here to Harrison. So I've been here for a full 8 years. I'm going on my 9th year now.
So you had not known the
Did not know him.
oh wow.
I gotta, well, and see, you know, and the people, right? To me, that's like, if you're a believer and you've committed yourself to Christ, that's what he does.
Right. Oh yeah.
That's what he does. So, you know, for me, it was one of those things where it was his plan, you know, and once I got over here, I didn't have babies, you know, that was, like I said, 8 years ago. And so when we started having babies, it started transitioning from my own personal goals and aspirations to putting our family in a place to where they could be challenged academically, athletically, spiritually, you know, just in every aspect of who they are. And I just see this community as an opportunity to do that, because, you know, there's going to come a time when I'm going to have to entrust my kids to someone else. And
Right.
I see in this community, nobody's perfect, but they are people that I want my children around, that I want my wife around. So
Right. Right.
that's what brought us here to Harrison.
Right. Right. Now, I did mention the Netflix special.
Yeah.
Now I think I know the answer. I don't know the exact answer, but how did that opportunity come along at Harrison High School?
Yeah, that had everything to do with Justin Fields, nothing to do with Josh Cassidy. Because if it was about Josh Cassidy, they would have never, you know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have been here. But Justin was on that QB1 show.
Right.
And I think that was the 18 season.
Yeah, something like, I don't know the exact year, but it was around that time frame.
Yeah, so they, you know, came and there was cameras everywhere. They would basically, you know, we have a great administration and program here, so we're on a block schedule. So we get our boys at 2:00 every day. The school day ends at 3:30, and we have them for weight training. So
wait a minute, y'all get the kids at 2:00 every day during the season?
Every day, all year round.
Period.
Yeah, like we have 4 blocks.
Right.
Our 4th block class is reserved for our football players that are definitely our 11th and 12th graders, and we're in the weight room.
That's a commitment, bro.
Where it's got to be like, you can't compete and not have that. You can't. And
you're right.
Greatest athletes in the world. Because see, for me, like I did, you know, part of my deal with the doctorate, and then also with when I was preparing for this job, I did some research on the time that we spend. And I'll just not give you the hours, but basically from the end of December all the way around a full calendar year, we spend 76% of our time is in the weight room. 22 point something percent of the time is practice, meetings, something like that. Just over 1% is in the game.
Right.
So that's what I present to the administration. Like, we have to have our guys here. If you want us to develop these kids, if you want us to help, if you want us to partner with you to help them become leaders in our school, to make sure other kids are doing it right, we've got to see them every day, year round. And they've committed to do that. And we're fortunate that we're able to, because I know that a lot of schools aren't, but I would tell you this, the majority of them in Georgia that are competing at a high level and a consistent level, they've got that structure in their program.
Now, I would say football is probably one of the only sports where you're going to practice more than you play.
Yeah.
So yeah, to hear those numbers, kind of brings life to what I just said. But it also puts it in very near perspective that you're spending more time preparing to play than actually playing throughout the year.
No doubt.
Cool. So just go in detail for our audience on working with a guy like Justin Fields. What was that experience like? What was it like as a student athlete there at Harrison? And what is your relationship with Justin today?
Well, Justin was here actually the week before the 4th. He was up here with the Bears, and they were doing a documentary. And he was here draft night. He was lifting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was here. And
say, hold on, time out. Say it again. On draft night, he was where?
It was either the day before the draft or the draft. He was here lifting at the high school because He thought he was going to go. I think he said Denver or New England is what he thought. And then the Bears traded up. I didn't follow the draft. But what I will say about Justin is, first of all, I think people, especially like grown folks, grown men, they want to watch shows like that with the freaking high school kid, and they want to judge the way he behaves. Imagine if someone had a camera in your face, your senior year of high school, they followed you to the Y, they followed you to get your hair cut, they followed you to eat. That's hard to handle.
Hey man, I mean, however old he was at that time, whether 16, 17. Now I'm not going to justify his behavior, but as an adult who's worked with young kids, it was nothing outside the norm that you would see.
And that's the thing. See, a lot of people, right? They look at a kid like that and they're like, well, he's cocky or he's this or he's that.
Oh man, it gets worse. It's worse.
Well, and exactly. And my is let me put a camera in your face.
Right.
Half of the day, your senior year of high school.
Right.
See how you behave, what you say. You can't. And so that piece of it has always been a bit frustrating to me. And I try to dismiss that when people talk about that show or Justin. But what I can tell you about him is that I think he's one of, and I know people will say, you know, the others, to me, he was one of the most mature kids I've been around. I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
He looked like it. I mean,
yeah.
He looked like it. To me, he looked like a very mature kid. Like I gained a deeper admiration for him as a person more than I did as an athlete with watching that show.
And I'm gonna tell you what that falls back on is his home life. His dad, he was an APD, undercover Atlanta Police Department.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm talking about friggin'. He had a motorcycle, dreads, like he was in it, and he's got stories. I'm telling you, it's like, man, you can sit just and listen to the stories. But his dad was a police officer here at our school.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so he like retired, if you will, from cover, and he was undercover narcotics too. So he was like in it, like serious
this
stuff.
Is probably in the 90s.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, or maybe even it might even have been. You got to figure Justin's only maybe 23.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know how young Justin was. It may have been in the early 2000s. He was.
It was still Wild Wild West.
Yeah, no doubt. It always is.
Right.
It's been forever and it'll be forever. You know, that's the world we live in. But, you know, to go back to Justin, his dad and his stepmom and his mom, and like the way that they parent him, right? So I would say that a lot of it is attributed to him. Now, he's a grown man now.
Right.
Things are different, but still, imagine, okay, 23 years old or 22, whatever he is, and he just had that signing bonus. I don't know how much it is. I would have been like, listen, when I was 23, I was a sophomore at Liberty.
God only knows, bro.
Like a fool, man. You know,
God only knows.
Yeah. So for me, Justin, what was, you know, the one thing I'll leave you with about him, his senior year, the game we played on ESPN versus Dalton.
Right.
He jacked up his finger, broke his finger, which took him out for the rest of the season. And he was still at practice. He was snapping balls to the next guy because he went out and we had a sophomore come in that Dalton game, win the game, and then we had to go to Sequoia the next week to win it to be region champs, and we did. And you know, he was supportive. He was what every high school coach hopes they have the opportunity to work with. Athletically, it's you put his athletic ability and some other kids that don't have that family structure.
Mm-hmm.
There's kids out there that have that ability we're not even talking about because they're out there doing things they're not supposed to do.
Man, I could name a handful of kids right now.
Yeah, plenty of them. So I attribute a lot of it to his family when he was younger, because we're developing, especially boys, and I don't want to minimize.
Now, did you know he was going to be that gifted of an athlete early on?
Well, we knew because what he did was he reclassed, if you will. His year, he went private.
Right.
Instead of coming in, because we had a kid that was playing quarterback, and we had the talks were going around because, you know, Trevor Lawrence played in our youth program also, the Harrison Hoya youth program.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both of those kids. Yeah, he was Kennesaw area too. Both of those kids were in the same youth program, and we knew that Trevor had left, but you had heard about, man, this quarterback's coming. And you know, when coach, like, we'll see. You know,
Right.
everybody's got
Right.
somebody that's gonna be great. You know, and so, but when he got here, his towards the end of his 10th grade year, that's when, in his junior year was, it was pretty, to me, that was a great, I mean, he was just crushing kids. So no, you don't know that. You hope that for kids, but I can tell you this, watching him in practice and the passes he throw, it was like, we just look at each other, because I'm on the defense side of the ball. I'm like, you know, we got the guy covered. Because here's the thing that also made Justin, you have to accredit the people that were around him. There was a receiver here, Steven Peterson. Phenomenal receiver, who, if Justin put it out there, he's going to catch it.
Right.
And had other guys around. We had a kid, Dawson Brown, who transferred in his senior year, small kid. Man, he was a great blocker and a great catcher. And then up front, he had just a great offensive line. And so he, you know, nobody can do it on their own. But no, we hoped, based on what people said, but his junior year is when I was like, this kid, because he came back from his 10th grade year of the summer is when he got his first offer from UNC, going to camps and things.
Right.
They had actually invited him. But his junior year, that's when we were like, dang, like, you know what I mean? In practice, I saw more in practice than I did in the game. I'm like, dang, did he just do that? Some of the, not necessarily running over kids, some of the balls he would throw.
Right, ball placement.
So I would say that I knew, I'm like, man, this kid can be special, but to be drafted in the first round and all that stuff, you never know that stuff.
Now,
something special when you see it. I've been fortunate, like I said, you know, I had to coach against Deshaun Watson. Down in Florida, I had to coach against Sammy Watkins. Like, yeah, there's certain kids you see in high school, you're like, it doesn't even look like he's running. It's like he's sliding.
Hey, man, I coached against Tyreek Hill in JUCO when he was at Garden City, and I was at Independence. And man, the player that you see now was not at Garden City. I mean, he was special. He was always revered as more of a track athlete that played football. So at Garden City, I mean, that team was loaded. He was a good athlete. He was a great athlete, as a matter of fact. But what you see now was nothing like you saw at Garden City. So I definitely identified with you know, the great athletes that you coach and coach against. Now you had a firsthand account when Justin was going through the University of Georgia situation. Talk a little bit about that, the conversations that you might have had when that whole process was going down, and what was your advice to him when he made his decision to transfer out and go to Ohio State?
I never spoke with Justin, you know, through that process.
Okay.
But I can tell you this, he originally had committed to Penn State.
Really?
Yeah, he committed to Penn State initially.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then he decommitted prior to and committed to Georgia. But, you know, I know this, when everything went down, I did talk to his dad about it and just wanted to support him.
Right.
Again, that goes back to it's so easy for people to pass judgment, right? You don't know what anybody else is going through. And that doesn't minimize their decisions or choices, but for me to say he should have stayed there and competed, but when he's got people using the N-word and racial slurs, I mean, so yeah. Well, see, that's what was going on, apparently. Like, that's part of the reason he left, is he was getting there was apparently and I don't quote me on all of this because I don't know the ins and out of it, but apparently there was another University of Georgia athlete who was making racial slurs towards him. And it was apparently, and again, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it was apparently proven. And that was part of it too. Now his
Right.
sister is a baller in softball. His sister's still there.
At Georgia, UGA.
Yeah, his sister's playing softball at Georgia right now and is a baller. I mean,
Right.
she just, I want to say Georgia went pretty far with their softball team, and she was cranking out some home runs. But I didn't speak directly with Justin, but I'm going to support that. He's our guy, man.
Right. Right.
I kind of want to come to his defense because I know everybody's got an opinion of someone, and he should have done this or he should have done that. Well, for me, I think he did what was best for him and his family.
Right. And it worked out.
It worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah. It looks like
worked out pretty good,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
So yeah. So, I mean, outside looking in, I mean, I don't never really fault kids for transferring out or wanting to leave the program for whatever reason. When coaches do it, nobody makes us think about it.
Mhm.
But when the players do it, and you may have your arguments about you made a commitment, you're supposed to follow through with your commitments. Yeah, I get all of it. I get all of it. But if you're at a place and you don't want to be there, why should you be subjected to stay? That's my whole argument. That's what anything anywhere in life. You can't make somebody stay somewhere they don't want to be.
Mhm.
So whatever decision these players make, I think one thing that they should do though. And I talked about this in my last interview is if you want to leave, just have the conversation.
Yeah.
Don't let your coaches find out through social media and you doing interviews and you haven't even talked to the powers that be and say you don't want to leave. That was my only gripe with it
And that's
all.
funny because I was listening to the interview with Johnny White yesterday, and he told the story about that coach in Virginia who was gone for a week, came back, and
Coach Cadillac.
Office and like, I'm leaving. You either hire him as the head coach or I'm just like, you didn't even tell me anything. So and that goes along with what you were saying to make me think of that story. It's like, come on, man, let me know something. But yeah,
Right.
but I also think, I think that we have, as the adults, as the mentors, as the leaders, we have fostered an environment for that by our own actions, right? I can't, it's like, don't tell me you love me, show me you love me.
Absolutely.
And so with kids, if I'm telling them to behave a certain way, but I'm at the bars on the weekend with my Harrison gear on, throwing back and acting silly, anything that I do in a very limited amount, our players are going to do in excess.
Right.
And so when you got high profile coaches leaving and going about, and then even in our own culture and society, depending upon where you're from, if kids are allowed to leave and do those things, we can't, like you said, fault them because you don't know what experiences they have and who's taught them how to handle things that way.
Right. I definitely would agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Now, so you're at Harrison, and you say you're going into your 8th year. So this
ninth year.
So this past season, your head coach, he retires, correct?
Yes.
Talk to me about that process and how you became the head coach. Did you have the interview, or was it like a coaching waiting process? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when I came in, I was, I felt the calling to become a head coach. I know if I had my way, I'd be a DB coach. I love secondary, corners and safeties, not
right.
corners or safeties, but both of them.
Right.
Felt a calling to become a head coach. And so when I came up here, I was driven to be a head coach, and almost so much so that I compromised some relationships because I was so laser.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah. So when I came to Harrison, I said, you know what? I'm not going to apply for a single job. I'm not going to call anyone. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to focus on being the very best coach I can be here. And in doing that, I knew that, when Coach D came up here, he came up with like, I think 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he only needed really 10 years in Georgia. And we had that conversation in the interview. And that's why he gave me the assistant head coach title in addition to the other title. And the idea was that I would be given an opportunity to interview. You absolutely, like here at a place like this, it's not like they're going to open it up. They have to, it's their responsibility. But the way it worked, I believe our head coach would have liked to have bowed out, because it was his 32nd season, I believe, in 2019, 15-0 state championship, retired. I'm out of here.
Right.
But at the end of that year, we both, after talking, we felt like the job would have been a little bit more difficult for me to get because I didn't have head coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the first time, he said, hey, go apply. So I went to apply. I got 3 interviews that after the 2019 season. I was offered 1 job and I turned it down. And the other 2 jobs, I didn't get.
Head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I didn't get I didn't get an offer for those other 2. So we stayed on, went through that COVID season. And at the end of the season, we circled back. We have, for the past 3 years, we've always had a conversation. And he said, this is the year. I'm going to step away. And so we did. And then when he did, it was middle of December. They named me as the interim, and then went through Christmas break. After Christmas break, we had the interview process, went through that, and then I was named as the head football coach sometime in January. I don't know the exact date.
Right. Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
So how's it been since you've been tabbed the head man in charge? How's it been?
It's been good. For me, I'm trying to find balance, right? Because, I have 3 little boys, and when I go home and I look into their eyes, I need to be able to balance everything, justify what I'm doing. So that's not to minimize a lawyer, a banker, or anybody else, because I'm not saying that they don't, but when I'm taking that time away from my boys, I'm pouring it into the lives of someone else's child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pouring into this community. And that helps me to justify the time that I take from them. But it's been I've had to make a conscious effort to balance my time. And I'm still learning to do that, because it's like 7 months, December to now, went by like that. I mean, it was just such time so quickly. And I don't want to, in the end, and we had this, staff meeting today, if we win 20 state championships, but I don't invest in the lives of our coaches, I don't know what's going on in their life. I don't give them an opportunity to talk with me about serious life issues, struggles they're having as men, struggles they're having as husbands, struggles they're having as fathers, struggles they're having as coaches and teachers. If I don't do that, then I miss the boat. And the same thing, because I'm putting my kids in it too, because I believe it's a blended family, right? Like you got mom, stepdad, stepkids. It's a blended family, because I believe that time is our greatest asset.
Oh yeah. Oh, most definitely.
Not my home, not my cars, not my clothes, not my whatever retirement I got. It's my time.
Your time.
And so I need to make sure I balance that. So you asked me, how's it been? That's been at the front of my mind. How can I balance this thing out? Because, you show me where your time is, and I'll show you what's most important to you. And it breaks my heart to say that the past, I've put more time into this than I have my own children. And they're young now. It's going to get to a place where my own children will be here with me more. And we had a kindergarten through 5th grade camp last week, and they were up here doing that. So it's been great. I just hope that I'm getting out the way and letting God do his thing. I hope that I'm surrounding myself with wise men, that we're counseling one another as we go through this thing. I hope that I have an ear to hear what they have to say, and that I'm taking their advice, and that I'm making a decision that's best for everybody. But I know this, that whole Nick Saban thing, if you want to please everybody, go sell ice cream. I'm learning. I'm going to do everything the right way, and I'm going to piss somebody off.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of learning that piece of it and trying to talk to people that I trust and get advice. But it's been great. You know, we've adjusted a little bit here at Harrison. You know, I know you say Justin Fields, but we don't have that type of kid regularly. That's not what we get here.
Right.
We just don't. So we have to be one. There's three things I believe we can control, and that's the weight room. So we got to be stronger. We can control our conditioning, and we can control our intellect. Getting off the bus, they may genetically be bigger, stronger, faster. But if we work on those things, we'll have an advantage. And so that's kind of been our focal point. You know,
I take those three characteristics any day.
yeah, no doubt.
A smart player makes a great player.
Yeah.
I'll take a smart player over the most talented, gifted, athletic kid in the world. I'm just telling you, because I've had kids that didn't quite cut it academically, and there's a correlation between academics and your
No
play on the
doubt.
field. There's a correlation, and when you're not the most talented, team on the field, look back at your academics. There may be a correlation there. So I know it was in my case, especially at the junior college level. You know, so
Well,
yeah,
that's what we tell our kids too, Coach. Like, you can't have a 1.8 GPA and an outstanding SAT, ACT score. What that's telling the college coach is that you got a lack of effort over here.
oh yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
no
So,
doubt.
yeah, you can't be great in the classroom and poor. You know, you just can't. It's got to be connected.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
Now, so yeah, I know we talked before we started recording. We were talking about a little bit just about this upcoming season. Talk about some of your players. Who you expecting to rise to the top, and talk about your outlook for the team heading into this season.
Yeah, so we're excited. We've got a great opportunity. We've got 4 returners on defense and 3 on offense.
Mm-hmm.
So we're young.
Right.
We've got right now 7 10th graders who are getting reps with our varsity. We're going to a camp tomorrow morning. We're heading out to the University of West Georgia, and we're actually taking 13 10th graders, and they're going to play. They're not going to come to hang out and watch. They're going to play. So the out of the season, we're excited for the challenge. Max Preps put out this thing earlier in the summer, the toughest classifications in the nation, and Class 7A Georgia was number 1.
I saw your schedule, bro.
Yeah,
I saw your schedule.
Yeah. Go ahead, laugh. Get that laugh.
Oh man, I didn't laugh when I saw that schedule.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. I mean, you look at our schedule, it's going to be a challenge, and we're realistic.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to be very, very smart as coaches. And we're also going to have our players, and that goes back to the conditioning piece. You know, we've got one kid with Power 5 offers, Nathan Vale, who plays safety. He's going to also have to play running back. We've got another kid with multiple Division I offers, Air Force Naval Academy, Toledo, Coastal Carolina, Nick Charles.
Boo, Coastal, boo.
Yeah, exactly. Be Coastal, baby.
Right.
And then another one is Ak Shabazz. He picked up an offer this summer to a 1AA school in not New Orleans, but in Louisiana. And I'm trying to.
Is that Nice?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
And then we've got some other kids that, can play. We've got kid Trent Hayberg, who, if you've got connections with Liberty, let me know. And I know this is sidebar from the interview. The kid wants to be in the ministry, and he's a good football player. He would be a little undersized for what they have at safety, but he can play. He freaking makes tackles in space. I mean, so he's looking. I mean, he's even interested in like an invite walk-on, but he has the potential to play at the next level. And we've got several. I mean, I could go through the list of kids who have the potential to play at the next level, whether it's Division 1AA, old school, 2, 3, or NAIA.
Right.
Traditionally go on and play, but the outlook is one of acceptance for the challenge. Our theme for the year is that we want to be responsible, all caps, for our role and then accountable, all caps, to our team, right? You know, sometimes people think responsibility, accountability is the same thing. We separate them where, hey, I'm responsible for my role. I'm the corner, I'm the safety, I'm the running back, I'm the quarterback. And not only am I going to be responsible to do what I'm called to do, I'm going to be accountable to my teammates to do it, right? And that's the piece that's going to be difficult, is because when you get in that type of schedule and you get in that type of challenge and you're faced with that type of adversity, are you still going to be responsible? Are you still going to be accountable? You know, and I talked with our staff during our staff meeting, you know, and went over a verse, and the verse, you know, that I shared with them that I really felt like right now God's putting on my heart. It was in the book of Matthew, chapter 14, and Jesus was with the disciples, right? And he had went up on the mountain, Jesus did, and the disciples went out in the lake, and he came back down the mountain, and his boat had, because the winds and the waves was going, and his boat had shifted out into the lake. So Jesus starts walking on the lake, right? And Peter's like, hey, and then all the disciples in the boat were fearful. They thought it was a ghost, right? And Peter says, hey, if that's you, Jesus, tell me, you know, to come. And this is kind of the verse that I'm getting to, is 14 in the book of Matthew, chapter 14, 29 to 30, says, come. And of course, that's Christ. And it says, then Peter got out of the boat, walked out of the water, came toward Jesus. And then when he saw the wind, he was afraid and he began to sink. Lord, save me. And I'm like, I told my coaches, that might be me this year, if that's scheduled. The wind and the waves, and I'm gonna start sinking. Hey, pick me up, pick me up. So, but in all seriousness, though, we're excited about the challenge.
All right.
That comes with it. And you know, any man that's cut like we are, you know, I was a walk-on, man. I wasn't a scholarship player. You know, if people ask, did you play at Liberty? Nope, I was a walk-on at Liberty. You know, and that's the way, you know, I've had to be based on my upbringing, and I embrace that. And in this season and the challenge that comes with it, we freaking, here we go, chin down, hands up.
Absolutely, absolutely,
forward, you know,
absolutely.
And we're gonna take our hits, and buddy, we're gonna keep going and keep moving forward and keep moving forward. We're gonna just try to do it the right way. So you know, when you ask me about players and the outlook, our players are in, man. We've got kids that are coming here in the weight room. I heard that interview with Johnny, and he said he didn't want to talk about numbers. He's coaching the kids there. We're fortunate. We got numbers. We got kids coming, and we got kids working hard. And so we're positive. And I know the challenge is coming. And I know the winds and the waves, and it's all coming. But if we can build this team, when we get to that wind, when we get to them waves, man, we can grab a hold of each other and lock arms. And so we're excited about the challenge.
Hey, man, I'm gonna tell you, man. So nobody's gonna remember when these kids are 10th graders, all right, when they become seniors. But this is the time right now, all right, that's gonna make those seniors in 2 years. This is the time right now that's gonna make or break. All right.
And here's the funny thing, no doubt you say that. In 2019, we win the state championship. In 2017, we go to the third round. We played 8 sophomores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Started.
Yeah.
One of them was a quarterback. And in their senior year, they go win the state championship.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. You got.
I'm not putting that on our guys, but I mean,
I mean, I know you, and I know you're pushing those guys, and you're you know, you max them out as much as you can, and if they put out, which I'm sure they will, when they put out on Friday nights, they're all, even if they come up short, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, these times that they're 10th graders, all right, you're gonna see that you're gonna see that you're gonna see the tides change when they're seniors. So you may lose a couple by 1 or 2. By the time those kids become seniors, you probably be the one to be on top in 2 more years. So, man, I know you accept the challenge. Hold on to your bootstraps, man. It may be a little rocky, but listen, man, it's going to be well worth it in 2 years if you stay the course. So I'll be paying attention. I'll definitely be watching, checking the scores and stuff, man. And I wish you all the greatest luck in the world, my brother. And if you need anything from me, just let me know. I'm gonna try to make it down. It's a lot of y'all in Georgia, So you
Yeah.
got Matt Mays. He's at Camden County,
Camden County, yep.
right? And you got, of course,
Biff.
Johnny. He's at Douglas County, and then you. So
You
you
got
guys
Biff
are.
Parsons. Biff's the head coach here.
And yeah, so I know Biff's is a head coach, and I know Biff and
You remember Gus Condon?
Gus. Yeah, Gus.
He's the OC at Buford.
Whew, man.
Yeah, it's a lot, but you know, it's funny you said good luck, and this is something that Coach Bernard, you say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. It's funny because, you know, we started the conversation about preparation, right? And so that's what we believe. So we're working, you know, for that opportunity.
I know you are. I know you are.
Yeah.
No, you aren't. So you need to get back coach for a game, man. Let me know.
You let me know, buddy. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you.
All right, my man. Listen, man. God bless you, man. Appreciate you giving me the time for the interview. Like I said, I'll be keeping watch with you guys this year. And yeah, man. Like I said, if you need anything from me, just let me know.
Thank you, and go Hoyas, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. All right. God bless you. Take care.
God bless you. Thank
Love
you.
you. Peace.
Love you, buddy.